I'm here with my friend Philip. We went to college together. That's how we know each other way back in the day. I've known you for what? Just under 10
Started
years?
in 2007.
Damn, has it really been that long?
Been that
Whew.
long?
I don't know how you put up with me. But Philip he's an airline pilot, but he's also a veteran, and I wanted to give him an opportunity to speak his piece with us. Philip, tell us a little bit about you, your history of in the military and the armed services, what branch you were, and stuff like that.
Alrighty, awesome. So my name is Philip McMillan. I am from South Mississippi, and I grew up in a very, very small town where there's actually more cattle and catfish than people. So upon graduation, my number one goal in life was to get out of there. And there was one vehicle that allowed me to do that, and that vehicle was joining the United States Air Force. And in doing so, we like to say, hey, you can get a free tour around the world. All you got to do is, put your life on the line, and all is well. So
Yep.
that's kind of how I got in the military and got my start.
That's awesome. What? Where did you go to basic? What started this journey for you?
So I graduated high school. Wow. Um, it was like May 23rd or 25th or something like that. But either way, my first day of basic training was June 18th, 2002. So I had
Dang.
not been out of high school that long. In fact, I was only 17 and I couldn't even sign my own paperwork. My parents had to do so.
Whoa.
So you got the 17-year-old kid that doesn't know left from right, but hey, I'm getting ready to go take on the world. Sign me up. And I got on a bus in the town of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It took me to the airport where I literally rode the first airplane ever. I was 17 at the time. I had never even been to an airport. And they're like,
Wow.
here we go. You're gonna get on this airplane. And I was just like, it was already an adventure for me. I
That's
was with it.
amazing.
And then that airplane took us to San Antonio, Texas, which is where we got on a bus and rode over to Lackland Air Force Base right there in San Antonio. It was the hottest and loudest welcoming I had ever gotten upon any place I had ever been in my life.
I bet at least you were familiar with the heat.
Yes.
One of my other friends was talking about how he got shipped up to the Great Plains in the middle of winter, and he's from Florida, so it's like he got to experience some nasty cold weather right off the bat. So
Yeah, he got a shock.
yeah, at least it wasn't too bad for you on that front, right?
No, it wasn't too bad. It was just a new place and new sounds and a whole lot of stimulus going on.
Yeah. Now you said you were 17 years old when you signed up, and your parents actually signed the paperwork for you. Were there conversations? Is there a history of military service in your family? Is it
Well,
just kind of a
my father was drafted in the United States Army,
okay?
and so he's biased. He's pro military.
Sure.
But upon my senior year in high school, I was given three options. It was number one, you can go to college. We'll have to pay for it. But I was a high school kid from Mississippi. I hate school.
Yeah.
And there was two, hey, you can join the military. We'll definitely support that. All right, it was three. You can go get out and live on the streets. Well, there are no streets in South Mississippi to live on. So really, I only had two choices.
So you could have lived on the bayou, right?
You betcha. It's too hot, too many mosquitoes and snakes for that.
Hell yeah, absolutely. So your parents signed the paperwork. Was there a conversation that you had with them beforehand, or was it encouraged right at 17, right out the door? This is what you're either going to go to college or you're gonna go in the military. You didn't have like a learning year or kind of what you wanted to do, or just went for it.
No, there was none of that. There's several members of my family that are veterans.
Mhm.
So my family was very familiar with the process and how it works, especially since my dad had been drafted. So there wasn't even any Like I didn't need encouragement from them, or I didn't need a conversation from them. They were just simply sitting there waiting on me to answer. I guess let me give more background. I'm the youngest of four, so my parents had already had that conversation 3 times. And when I came along, now they're in their 50s. They're kind of tired and they're kind
Yeah.
of slow. So they're just like, "Hey, what do you want to do?"
Get your ass out of here.
Yep, that's kind of how it went.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's an awesome story. Going back to the boot camp part of it, is it called boot camp for the Air Force, or is it called
That's called
basic
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 training,
training?
but boot
Okay.
camp, it's all the same.
Yeah, I guess everybody sort of gets the same message. Do you have any
Yes.
funny or interesting memories from that time? Like a lot of the stories are the drill sergeant yelling and screaming in your ears, but I've heard some funny stories as well.
Most of my stories aren't really that funny. Being that in high school I was in the marching band and I played the trumpet. It's all about the brass. So my first day at basic training, when you get off the bus, they say don't volunteer for anything. At the moment, I did not think I was volunteering for anything.
Right?
But they were like, "Who out here can play an instrument?" And I was just like,
Like,
"Me." And out of nowhere, they were like, "All right, you guys go stand over there." And we all went and stood off to the side and we just sat in the grass. Seemed like for hours as more and more buses pulled up
mhm.
and more people got off the buses. Some of them would come join us in the grass. The rest of them would march away screaming and yelling. But in volunteering for that, my basic training, I was a part of what's called a band flight, meaning um, all the bands that you see at all those ceremonies, graduation ceremonies, parades, whatever it may be around San Antonio, those are actually people who have not finished basic training. Basic training for me was you wake up, you do physical training, you have breakfast, and then you go to the band hall for about 6 hours and you play that
Damn,
instrument all day, every day.
damn.
The plus side of that was it was not separated between men and women.
Mm.
Like our flight was all combined. It was
Yeah,
co-ed, right?
right.
Because girls play horns just as well as guys do. So in that aspect, it was good. The other positive about it was most people during basic training do not leave the base the
Mm,
entire time they're there. Whereas being in a band flight, we had to perform in um, different parades around San Antonio. So now we're able to get off base. Well, you have to eat
yeah.
because you can't run off gas. So instead of being, stuck with eating in the chow hall and all the other good stuff, well, we just ate at regular restaurants and we got to go out and mingle with regular people. So my basic training experience was slightly different. But the one thing that does stand out, um, I had never had to eat so fast in my life. Just the simple act of just scarfing all that food
Yeah,
food down in like 10, 15 minutes, because that was it. If you didn't eat it, you were done. You weren't
yeah,
gonna eat for the next day. So that was a bit of an adjustment.
yeah.
And while we're stuffing our faces, and some people are throwing up, not me, as you can tell, I don't miss my nose. The drill
You and I
instructors
both.
are just yelling and clowning and having a good old time making
Yeah,
fun of us. But yeah, that's the one thing that stands out: having to eat fast and then being a part of the band fight where we went everywhere. It was great.
that's interesting. So when you towards the end, how did you get? Did you? I mean, obviously you graduated. Did it? Was that like a? What kind of ceremonies are those? Is it interesting, or were you playing for your own graduation? It's like,
Yes, you do play for your own graduation. It's the same pomp and circumstances
yeah,
that you have, every Friday. The only difference is when it's your actual graduation and it's your time to march across in front of all the I would call them top hats per
yeah,
se. Um, the people who are not finished with training continue marching straight on,
mm,
but the guys who are graduating stop, salute, get their pendants, and life changes for us because we were done with basic training.
right. Interesting. So when you graduated, when you completed your training, did you get assigned to a unit? What was that like?
So once you finish basic training, that's just pretty much I don't like this word, but it's just an indoctrination to have everyone have the same background, the
Hmm.
same general understanding, the same customs and courtesies of your particular branch of service. After that, now it's time to actually go to what we would call a tech. In the Air Force, it's called tech school.
Okay.
In the Army, I think they call it AIT or something crazy like that. But now you actually go to like a specific school to learn how to do your specific job
Okay.
for whatever branch you signed up for.
Sure. Do you mind if I ask
And
what you ended up doing?
so I was an air traffic controller or a CTO, certified tower operator. And so my tech school was located at Keesler down there in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Hmm.
And tech school is slightly different from basic training. Yes, it's still kind of tight and people still yell at you, but it's in phases. And when you first get there, everything's all locked down. My phone's rotating here.
It's running away on you.
It is.
There you go. It's all
Boom.
my loud talking.
When you first get to tech school, everything's really locked down. But the longer you're there, the looser the reins get. So you go from having to be in uniform, 24 hours a day to, now you can wear civilian clothes and ride in the car and go out and enjoy yourself on
Sure.
a Friday evening.
Sure. Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yep, it wasn't too bad. Learned a lot. You meet a lot of people, and you just learn how to interact with all sorts of walks of life.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. And once you're in tech school, once you reach the beginning, and you're gonna pass training and all that stuff, then they assign you an actual base
Okay.
or a group that you're gonna belong to.
Right. That makes sense.
Yep.
I guess getting away from your initial training and everything, um, did you end up getting deployed at all? Were you stationed overseas?
I did. I actually did my entire military service overseas. The only thing that I did stateside was training.
Okay.
My first duty station was RAF Lakenheath. It's about 2 hours northeast of London. It's
Okay.
in East Anglia part of the UK. And the second half of my tour was done in Kunsan, Korea, right there on the Yellow Sea. But while in Lakenheath, we deployed several times. I was a part of Operation Enduring Freedom
Okay.
and Iraqi Freedom.
Okay. Do you want to, while we're on the topic of deployment, do you want to go deeply into the conversation of the deployment at all, or do you want to? I kind of want to leave this up to you on what direction we go with deployment, because I know a lot of people can get kind of um, just a little into the story. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but
No, it's okay. So being in the Air Force, I was not directly on the front line.
right.
I could see the front line,
Yeah.
but I was not on the front line. The one thing that stands out the most and probably changed me forever about that deployment. Um, you work 6 days a week, you work 16-hour shifts, and you have one day off. Normally, you would go out and mingle with the locals. Well, it was kind of a volatile environment, so
Yeah.
mingling with the locals was not really something you wanted to do. So I go to work and I'm just like hanging out, shooting the shit, bugging my coworkers because there's really nothing to do, and I don't know anyone in that part of the world. And all of a sudden, this really large airplane pulls up. Well, I got time on my hands, and I'm nosy, so I venture out on the ramp, and I go and walk on board of the aircraft, and I'm just looking around, being nosy. Well, this particular airplane was full of caskets,
Oh, geez.
and in the military, when you pass away, your dog tags are on the bottom of your casket, so they know who you are and your age and all the other good stuff. But it still hadn't hit me yet. And my supervisor was with me because it was his day off as well. So I walk on board. I'm just looking around, and I'm looking at these birth dates. And at the time, I'm probably 20, and all these dates are pretty close to the day that I was born. And just like yesterday, I remember looking at my supervisor, and I go, "Well, what happens when we run out of these guys?" And he goes, "Oh, it's your turn." And I was like, "It's my turn. Like, I didn't sign up for that." And he was like, "Even though you might be just an airman, you did sign up for that. You
Right.
did sign up to make the ultimate sacrifice for your country." And that was probably a defining moment for my career, because it definitely changed the trajectory of where I would finally end up.
Yeah. Do you have any, as a air traffic controller, you probably dealt with the close air support or something like that as it's coming in. Did you have any kind of wild events where they scrambled or crazy events that you can think of that that's almost we would find hard to believe here back home?
Unfortunately, there was no crazy moments upon my time.
I guess that's
Yeah, I was
probably for the
based at
best though.
yeah, I was based in it's called LUD or Qatar or
Okay.
whatever it may be, and it was more or less a R&R base for NATO
Oh,
and
okay.
all the other forces. Yeah,
Gotcha. So it's kind of like an en route stop sometimes as well, or
pretty much. It
stopover.
was kind of like a base camp, and
Gotcha.
people left there and then went down to
Okay.
the front lines.
Gotcha. So you kind of were taking care of all of the pre-deployment stuff. They were coming
Yes.
in there for kind of acclimation and stuff like that.
Yep, for it ranged from regular airliners that were just
Yeah.
bringing troops
Okay.
over to actual airplanes that were going to
Gotcha.
go engage.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, I guess, was there anything after deployment that you came back? You said you did almost your entire tour or your entire enlistment overseas. Is that
Yes.
right? Yeah. So you didn't, when you came home, you were done. You were out of the service, or how did that work?
Yeah. So I was still based in Lake and Heath at the time, and my 4 years was coming to a close. And it's like, this has been a lot. I think I want to get out of the military and go to college and do something different.
Hmm.
Well, I got a rude awakening that so when you're in the military, you're either CONUS or OCONUS. Well, in order to come back CONUS, meaning stateside, you have to have enough time left on your contract for them to make that investment. And I did not have enough time for that. So in return, they said, "Hey, you want to get out? All right, you're going to Korea for 2 years. Good luck."
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah,
So if I understand it right, your enlistment period, your initial period was 4 years,
correct.
and then you were so close to the end that they didn't want to say, okay, we'll send you to school or additional training or something like that, and then so they just tacked on 2 more years at the end. Is that?
It's tacked on 2 more years because in order for me to come
Oh,
back
that's wild.
stateside, I would have. Well, I had an option, and the option was to re-enlist, and
Mhm.
at that point, I decided that wasn't the best thing for me.
Sure.
Uh, so I just did whatever I needed to do to finish out my time and walk away with a honorable discharge.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. I guess you've seen enough and you're ready to move on with the next phase of your life.
Yep, and I was a knucklehead at the time, so it from
At the time,
fights to
knucklehead at the time.
I
Man, I
know,
went to
right?
school with you.
I know it was crazy out there. But from getting into fights and all sorts of trouble, dealing with the MPs, all that good stuff, I was like, woo, I had enough.
Time to move on.
Time to move on.
Heck yeah. Okay, so um, you've completed your service, right? And when
Correct.
you got discharged, did life change significantly for you? Did you miss any of the structure of life beforehand?
The one thing that I did miss was the camaraderie. I did not miss the structure and the pace
Mm.
of the military, but I did miss the camaraderie. It was a very uncomfortable adjustment. Um, learning to be a normal functioning citizen again and just be a regular civilian.
Yeah.
That took a lot of turning switches off, taking a deep breath, and letting your hair down. I say hair down. But no, it was a big adjustment, and I can see why a lot of veterans struggle with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the main reason I'm doing this. We're supporting the Wounded Warrior Project, trying to raise a little bit of money to help out their cause. And it's important for us to realize, just as the layperson, as myself, to know that there are different grades of wounded veteran. Some of them come back, they're pretty messed up, and some of them come back, maybe they've got some shrapnel or something that they're scars that they carry around with them for the rest of their life, but otherwise they're doing all right. And then some people just have some kind of emotional or scars that they struggle with on a deep and personal level. And I think it's just important to have the opportunity to recognize that, and then to speak with veterans like yourself, to spread that awareness and to show appreciation. So thanks again for doing this.
You're
Um,
welcome.
let's see. Next question I have is, what, in your opinion, is something that you wish the public knew more about veterans, or would change their attitude towards veterans, or is there anything?
There is the one thing that I wish the general public um, would understand about veterans is that you're dealing with people that have literally put themselves in harm's way so that we can have and continue to maintain our current way of life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that comes at a huge sacrifice, whether it be mentally or physically, or either the ultimate, the Omega chapter. So the one thing that people need to understand is veterans need to be, or would like to be, or would function better if they were number one, seen, and number two, appreciated. It's not that we need people to bow down to us or give us our way or move out of the way for us. That's not it. It's just that, like, hey man, you need to understand the mentality of the people that you're dealing with, and these guys simply just need to be appreciated. Some of them have been through very harsh things, and it almost feels like you're out there. You just came from this system that kind of made you completely dependent on it and guided every second of your life to being out here on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And you're supposed to just, function without this system that has had complete control um, over your life since you signed on to the dotted line. So just showing like simple appreciation, a simple thank you for your service, or there's some companies who understand veterans and some of the mental challenges that may be involved with veterans, and they go after them and they hire them.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that are, that, in my opinion, the best way to deal with veterans after they are no longer active service members.
So just like a good opportunity to raise awareness, that there are some difficulties sometimes with veterans, and maybe they need a little extra wiggle room with applications or employment, or with whatever it may be. There are programs out there that help veterans uh, get back into the normal civilian life, and it's probably good. Maybe we can find a couple of them and kind of raise awareness on those as well. So awesome.
Very good. That would be the biggest help to veterans.
Yeah. Um, have you been involved in any veterans organizations, VFW, for instance, or any other kind of uh, past service fraternities? Have you been keeping in touch with previous service brothers and sisters or anything like that?
I have. The people that you go to basic training with, believe it or not, you make a tight bond with those people because you go through some of the harshest conditions, and those are the only people
Uh,
you have. So you kind of have a forever lasting bond with those people. You might not speak or see them every day, but the moment you do connect with them, it's instant. You know, we're back to right where we left off. We didn't skip a beat.
Right.
As far as being active in any military, um, I'll call them fraternities for the lack of a better word. Since my dad was drafted, he is very visible in the local VFW chapter there in my hometown. And throughout high school, since he was there, I was there because I had to
Right.
drive him. They would be having a good old time.
Yeah. Having a little too much fun.
Yeah, a whole lot of fun. So that caused me to be fairly active. And then my first cousin, he was in the Army. He was a part of this unit up in Kentucky. I forget the name of the base because I wasn't in the Army. They wore blue ropes around their shoulders. They were airborne assault troops.
Okay.
And he got forcibly retired because of a what happened while he was still in. But either way, so he was out doing whatever it is that they do, and he was in a Humvee, and they ran over a hidden bomb, for the lack of better words, and everyone in that Humvee died except for him, and he was not physically damaged too much. You know, he had the minor scrapes and bruises, but mentally he was a wreck.
Yeah.
So although he didn't, have like a loss of a limb or anything, it was the Wounded Warriors who looked after him and engaged with him and tried to rehabilitate him, for the lack of better words. And I did everything in my power to be a part of that rehabilitation. Unfortunately, he was not able to overcome the mental challenges associated with that. And his body began to respond to the trauma that he endured during that event. You would think, the trauma happens like then. Yes, it can, but oftentimes it don't. It won't. It takes like time, and then it happens. For example, if you're in a car wreck and you get whiplash, well, in that moment, you're fine. But the next day when you wake up, like, holy moly, it feels like, your head's going to fall off. But for him, his body just began to shut down. And unfortunately, literally 2 months ago, we buried him down in my hometown. It was a pretty sad event. I was fairly close to him. I had known him since I was a kid. And he was one of the reasons why I joined the military. I didn't join the Army, though. But dang, I didn't think I was going to go there. Here I go.
But, well, I think it's really important to, obviously I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but sometimes it's very important to have an actual conversation about some of these events, so that if you internalize too many of the traumas, it can, I mean, it just adds up to be something you don't want to have in your life. So, I mean, I appreciate you opening up.
That's my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, my last question was actually if the Wounded Warrior Project has impacted your life at all. And it sounds like to some degree they certainly have. You know of the Wounded Warrior Project, and you have dealt with one of their, I think they call them alumni.
Yes.
So I'm glad they... Go ahead.
I was going to say, being that I'm based in Washington, D.C., oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, but as much as possible, I try to get over to Walter Reed and do simple things like just bring in lunch or, just sitting and hold a conversation with these guys just to let them know, hey, I see you. Yeah. I appreciate what you did. So, yeah, Wounded Warriors is pretty big in my books. And, any local VFW chapter is pretty big.
That actually... Believe it or not, that actually strikes me pretty hard. We have a VA hospital here in Madison, and maybe I should put a little effort in behind my words and actually go and see if they need any help with anything. So
Yeah, those guys are easy. Just walk in a random room and hey, what's your name? How's it going? And
yeah,
I promise you, they will give you a show.
yeah. Maybe more than you signed up for, but they will give it to you.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. All right, Philip, we did almost 30 minutes. Well, we actually just went over 30 minutes. We talked about your pre-enlistment life, young age of 17, got into the military with a little bit of help from your parents. Boot camp basic. Seemed like it was pretty straightforward, but you ended up having some interesting things with the band. That's a fun thing that I never thought I would hear.
Yeah.
Deployment seemed straightforward, but still striking. You know, the flight of caskets. I mean, that's almost unbelievable
Make
when
you
you think about it.
rethink every step you ever took.
Absolutely. And then you came back home, and you know, now you're a very successful pilot. And it's been an honor and a pleasure knowing you. Is there anything else you want to talk about while you've got this opportunity, or?
No, I guess I'll have to exit stage left. I don't have any other topics to speak on at this time, but I'm always available for any topic, any interview, any sort of conversation you would ever like to have.
Awesome. Philip, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All right, guys, we are back.
We're back.
Looks like the volumes are good. I hope everybody enjoyed the first interview with my friend Philip. As you guys heard at the beginning, I've known Philip for ever since college. We were in our aviation program together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I've known him for a long ass time. I think it's the official
That's the measurement of time,
Yeah,
long ass time,
long-ass
a
time.
shit ton of time.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that little glimpse into his life. Something that he touched on, and something that I think is very important, is the theme that your mileage may vary when it comes to being a veteran. We've got a lot of veterans in this community, and a lot of veterans out there that I know of that can have a much more life or death experience when deployed. And there are some folks, and you know, Philip did a wonderful job, but like he said in the interview, he's a air traffic controller in the Air Force, and he was deployed, but he wasn't right on the front lines. And I think he would be the first one to point that kind of stuff out. You know, so that's I think the theme of that first interview was definitely the your mileage may vary kind of.
Yeah, because everyone's experience is different. Everyone,
Exactly.
you know, depending on what you do in the military, where you're going to be located, you know, front lines compared to supporting roles. I mean, they're all important, but
Right.
as far as, you know, what you're going to get yourself into, definitely would change.
Right, absolutely.